As we shared with you earlier this week, Representative Mo Brooks, a Republican, filed a lawsuit against Vice President Mike Pence. And this lawsuit, by the way, was joined by 11 other Republicans, arguing that the vice president should choose a sham set of electors in order to certify electoral college votes in favor of Donald Trump. This is an attempt to overturn the election results. And there was already some indication that Mike Pence was rejecting this whole process, didn't think that it really had any standing. Remember that the January 6th process that involves Vice President Mike Pence is largely ceremonial. However, in response to this lawsuit, the Justice Department attorney representing Mike Pence responded by saying a suit to establish that the vice president has discretion over the count filed against the vice president is a walking legal contradiction. And so the argument here in the response is, if you're gonna file a lawsuit, it doesn't really make sense to file it against the vice president. If you were to have a case here, you would file it against Congress. But even in this case, you don't really have any merit or standing. So this is gonna go nowhere. So what he's doing here is asking a federal judge where this lawsuit was filed to toss the case out entirely.
Yeah, so there's a couple of amazing parts of this story. First of all, it's Trump's own Justice Department saying like Republican congressmen like Louis Gohmert trying to support Trump are clowns. It's like, you guys don't even know who you're suing. Do you know what the vice president does? According to the 12th Amendment, his only job is to, quote, open all the certificates. That's it. He just opens the certificates, that's it. And he doesn't have any more power than that. They're like, oh yeah, well, what if he just rips them or something? That's not a thing, you morons. Even though, like, this Justice Department recently led by Bill Barr, so very, 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 very right wing. And they're like, yeah, no, it's not a thing. I don't know what you want me to tell you, Louis. It's not a thing. So now, of course, the guy who doesn't get that it's not a thing, of course, Donald Trump. The fish rots from the head down. So an amazing CNN report, I wanna give you 2 quotes from it. Before leaving for Palm Beach, he learned that Trump did of Vice President Mike Pence's role in the certification proceedings on Capitol Hill, which is mostly ceremonial. Wait a minute, you didn't know that until like yesterday?
Of course, Jake, of course he didn't know. Of course, come on, of course he didn't know. Of course he didn't know. He doesn't care. Look, I've made this point, Anna, make it again. He's a businessman who doesn't even know like the ins and outs of being a businessman, like how to actually run a successful business. But he's gotten away with terrible things because in business there are loopholes. He treats government the same way. He thinks there's always some sort of loophole, like I don't have to follow the rules. There are loopholes, right? But in this case, of course there are no loopholes, and he doesn't care what the rules are.
But there's an extra layer of unbelievableness to this because he doesn't know anything about the process. I'm not at all surprised by that, right? But Gohmert had filed a suit a while back, a bunch of days ago. So he's not even paying attention to the news. So he's like, oh, what? Oh, the vice president does something in the Senate? Yeah, you schmuck, he's the ceremonial head of the Senate. And so you didn't know anything. Okay, so he just finds out. Then the next sentence here is, as he was flying to Florida for his vacation, Trump retweeted a call from one of his supporters for Pence to refuse to ratify the electoral college count on January 6th. Well, number one, it's not a thing that Pence can do. He could do it theatrically, but it doesn't matter. It has no force of law. And number two, why are you retweeting something to your own vice president? Why don't you call him? Like, what is the point of, like, he always acts as if he has no power and he's not the president. Like, somebody find a way to get to the vice president. You know what, I'm gonna tweet to the vice president publicly. You have 1,000 staffers. They can get Pence on the phone right now, right? And that's because he doesn't do his homework. If he studied power, he could use power better, and thank God he didn't. He could have found a way to pressure Pence, etc. So now we find out, of course, he did try that and he bungled it, and that's why he's going out in public and going, I don't know, can somebody help me with my own vice president? I don't know how to handle him. So pathetic. So here's the last part from CNN. Sources say Trump, before his vacation, brought the matter up to the vice president and has been, quote, confused as to why Pence can't overturn the results of the election on January 6th. Because that's not how the Constitution works. The vice president can't just go and go, I've opened the certificates and they say Trump won, so let's move on. You're so dumb. You're one of the dumbest people in America. He's 4 years in, has no idea how to be president, has no idea what a word of the Constitution says. And he's like, oh, so why can't you, I don't know, you're the vice president. What, and you go to the Senate every once in a while? Why can't you just go to the Senate on the 6th and say, I'm the president? I'm confused. Wow.
Yeah, and by the way, so he's actually flying back to DC. He's been in Florida for a while now, and there were even some reports with people speculating that he would never go back to DC. But he did fly back to DC today. But there are also reports that while he was golfing and trying to enjoy himself and forget about the fact that he lost the election, he was just in an incredibly sour mood the entire time. He was arguing with Melania Trump over nonsense, apparently, which I don't care about. But what's interesting is, people, once he got elected, bought memberships to Mar-a-Lago because you have access to him. And he thinks he's like the hotshot, like, hey, yeah, president, yeah. Like, going over to like the, I don't know, cafeteria area where everyone is and like, hamming it up. And lately he's been like keeping to himself. He's kind of mercurial, not in a good mood. And so they're assuming he's flying back to DC to kind of have like a change of, first of all, to prepare for whatever happens on January 6th. But some also think that he's doing it because he needs like a change of environment because he's been very grumpy. So we'll see what happens on the 6th, but he's acting like a child, that's the point.
No, I love that story. They're like, he's heading back to DC to handle what's happening on January 6th. Dude, it's December 31st. Planes don't take 6 days to get to DC. He's not like
skipping his New Year's Eve party.
He's not taking a cross-Atlantic cruise to get to DC, okay? No, he'll be there in a couple of hours. No, he's definitely avoiding the party. And Anna, it reminds me of that story that I mentioned a couple of times, where he once told a story, is in his mind a harrowing story about how this one guy was really rich and he used to go to the same parties as Trump, but then he lost all his money, and everybody in those parties then like ridiculed him and wouldn't talk to him because apparently everyone at those parties are the worst people on earth. Right? And Trump was like, oh my God, I never want to be that guy. And that's part of why he's fighting so hard, even though he has no chance and he lost the election, because he's bankrupt. He's gonna be that guy at the party. But now, since he lost the election and he's humiliated, he's already that guy at his own New Year's Eve party. That's why he's running away from the party. And so this level of humiliation, I have to confess, is kind of awesome. And I love that you use, delicious. I mean, and Trump's tears on Air Force One, somebody bring him a Too Strong Coffee to collect those tears, okay? TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. Last thing, and I love that you use the word mercurial in that story, as if Trump would understand that. Like, oh yeah, well, you know what? I hear I was mercured from coronavirus, so I'm okay.
Whatever, man. However he feels about it. It's just, oh God, just imagine not attending your own party because you're so hurt. You're so emotional. You're having a meltdown, election night meltdown, Donald Trump and his supporters. Share that video with me again. Go ahead, share that 2016 video with me again. Do it.
Oh yeah, do it. Okay, so do it. So you remember he did this before. The night that the Supreme Court rejected his big case, he thought, oh, that's all right, I rigged the Supreme Court. It's gonna go to the Supreme Court. They're all gonna say, yeah, let's turn this into a dictatorship. Who cares? And then they didn't, and they rejected him completely. And he had a party downstairs at the White House that he was supposed to attend. And they're like, sorry, the president is being mercurial and will not be able to attend, okay? And he's like, I know, man, I already got mercury. Anyway, so meanwhile, he's upstairs crying. He was crying. And he's like, why did the Supreme Court take it? Why can't Pence open the other envelope? I don't understand. There's nothing better than Donald Trump's tears.
No, and look, there's an added layer. There's like that bonus of knowing that he's the type of person who's consistently gotten everything he's wanted, didn't qualify for loans because he had defaulted so many times, but somehow managed to get Deutsche Bank to still give him hundreds of millions of dollars in loans. Like, he's always found a way to get what he wants. And in this case, you guys savor it. He can't win. He can't get what he wants. And it feels really, really good.
Because he's so entitled, he's so spoiled, and he's convinced all of his MAGA heads, like, you guys say he had 6 bankruptcies. We don't say it, it's a fact. They filed papers, there's no question. And they're like, oh, well, how come he's still rich then? His dad gave him $413 million, and he's now turned it. And then Jeff Zucker at NBC basically gave him another $400 million for The Apprentice. He's lost it all. So,
all of it,
guys. Whisper of a dream. This is not political in the sense of it's not going to affect your life. The other dreams are much more important. We got to get your policy. But in this case, just for fun, for Schadenfreude. He's like, I don't know anything about Freud. I don't go to counselors. Anyway, for Schadenfreude, whisper of a dream when we see his properties start to get repossessed. Because that's what's going to happen. He's bankrupt. And when those properties get repossessed, everybody stock up on 2 strong coffee mugs. You're not gonna have the room for the coffee. You're not gonna have room for the coffee. It's gonna be filled with nothing but tears. It's just gonna be awesome.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.